Okay, now we can do this, right? We live right now. Hello, everybody. Today is March 28th, my wife's birthday, 2024, early in the morning. Things are looking pretty good. I'm just a little nervous right now. I'm recording at the same time. Of course, recording audio, but I'm also recording video. I may use a couple of these slides and everything as I get comfortable and talk. I have to pretend that the camera isn't there, so to speak. I may just move it over in the corner later, not right now. But yeah, just to see if we can get different angles and all that stuff that they talk about. But let's go get the coffee real quick. We got the coffee. We got the coffee. All right. So I don't know how long we're gonna go for. I know we're gonna at least go for 20 minutes. That's the goal. But these do what they do, right? So let's have a little icebreaker. I had a really good conversation with you guys yesterday. Enjoyed it and everything. It was a lot of fun just to spit for a little bit. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about YouTube. Today, for the most part, is going to be a YouTube production day. So I will actually be recording, doing a lot of that stuff, figuring that out. And then once that is done, I can focus on other things, so to speak, with the video concept. So I'm just trying to talk it out right now, just because it helps me to, when I do actually talk about the topic of the YouTube video, that I'll be ready and focused and ready to do what I need to do in order to convey that message to people. See, at the end of the day, it is about people, right? I know that, but that's very hard to realize or get down. The topic today of alluding to is about story is overrated. People on YouTube say that quite a bit. And I know a thing or two about stories. I actually written a book. It's called It Smells Better Than It Tastes. And there's so many different metaphors and meanings around that stuff. But in this case, it's about people thinking things are a lot better on one side than the other, and kind of really just savoring the moment again. Do need to get that passage in the book and probably read it and probably give that out to people, let them think a little bit. I haven't thought about that. I've thought about it, but the way that I put it 11 years ago when I wrote the book. But the reason why I bring up that is because it's all about the way I look at it, long form, even though it's a short book, is connecting the dots. How do you get from this point to that point to this point to this point and still be able to tell a compelling story? I think that's the hard part in this, And in this case, how do you tell a story or get to the point in 8 to 10 minutes? That's really where we're at with this. And I'm making no sounds again. So we're gonna make sure my mouth is not too dry. But how do you do that? To get people to stay with you when you're just starting out, you don't know really what's going on, and you're just trying to figure things out. And I think I'm slowly getting my voice with YouTube, just like I am getting there a lot more comfortable with podcasting. I do enjoy the fact that I'm here and I'm just talking, I'm just getting things out. And it's also helping me out with the business of getting my ideas and thoughts aligned together, so then I can really go about knowing what I need to do, what I not need to do, right? So yeah, so that's where we're at with this. It's a lot of fun, a lot of trials and errors, but I'm looking forward to working on working on the B-roll, kind of getting that concept done, playing around with in focus, out of focus, and all that stuff. And that's what I'm doing with my camera right now. I have a Nikon D750. It's a good camera, good photography camera. And a Nikon D700, but it didn't do video and it started to mess up a little bit. And I just wanted to move with times. And I think I did have my D700, but something happened to it because I had two of them. People always say you always get two of the same bodies, but I think in this case, it's probably best to get two different bodies of the same camera or similar cameras or same make, because one was better than the other, and I still gravitated to that one more than that. So, that's kind of how the way things work. So I do have something to say in the beginning. I do want to say that right now, so then I can piece back to it later on. I may use the voiceover of the mic, but I also have my Rode mic on. But yeah, so stories. Well, what does that mean though? What does a story mean? You're trying to tell somebody something, right? You're trying to make it interesting. I think that's really what they're saying. They're really saying, how can you make something interesting to people? Because we're still dealing with people at the end of the day. No matter what, even writing a book, you're still dealing with people. You're trying to get people to understand what you're trying to talk about. Either you're trying to educate them, you are either trying to entertain them, or probably a little bit of both. Or whatever your message may be, you're trying to get them to stay with you throughout the whole message, the whole story, the whole reasoning. And the way you go about writing stories is very different, right? You tell somebody something in the way that you think that makes sense, in a way that that gets you very comfortable with the way that you like to do things, so to speak. Meaning that for me, when I wrote my book, it's a first person. It was a first person book. I don't think I could have written the same book or even had the enough stamina in order to write a book if it was in a third person or a way that different other people write. I had to come to that voice in a way to where it makes sense for me to write that book that way, right? You understand? So it's kind of like this with the YouTube videos, the podcast, anything that you create, something, photography, is that you go with the idea, the logic of you communicating a message to people that they can truly, really understand what you're talking about, right? That's what I'm getting at right now. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I think that's extremely important that you do see it that way. Not necessarily so much of like, this is the information that I give to people, of trying to explain to them the message that I'm trying to give them. They don't care about that. They care about what you're trying to do with either the genre that you're picking or the medium. And in this case, it's YouTube. And people have a short lifespan. They want to be entertained all the time. They don't usually use they don't usually use TV right now or Netflix. They still do, but they go to YouTube. I go to YouTube. I'm easily entertained by that stuff because that's what I'm used to. That's what I gravitate to. And I can always tune it off and on anytime I want to. And I think that's the liberating part to people, So you're trying to get them to watch most of your video. So that's where we're at with that. So story, what is a story? What does that mean? What are we really trying to say to people? We're trying to get them to hopefully get what they want out of it. And I think that's where I'm getting back to now, is that it's not about me. I'm just the messenger. And I think that's the beauty of doing these things for YouTube, is that it's for you, it's by you, but it's not intended for you, if that makes sense. I'm making things that are interesting to me most of the time. It's pushing me out of my comfort level, right? But, it's one of those things too that I know ultimately this is stuff that is for other people. So that's where we're at with this. We're going to try to see if we can do the script a couple times and all that good stuff. We will see how it works. We may just put this actually on YouTube. We'll see as a video podcast, whatnot. But again, this is going to help me think things through, think about the concept, the idea that's brewing in my head, so to speak, right now, no pun intended. And as I keep going and understand what's I need to do to convey that message to people, I think that's where we're going to be with a lot of this stuff, right? So I'm going to turn a little bit, get comfortable. Got a window right here, so just bear with me. Okay, we're a little off axis, but I think we're pretty good though. So I think I can talk into it and then also read. And then that will be a part of the voiceover. So we are going to be about 12:20 mark. I couldn't mark it. I think that's what that thing is for my recorder. But right now, it's probably about 13 minutes. We'll say 13. I may have to read this a couple times and then splice in where I need to. But yeah, so here we go. You've been counting down the days until your last batch of that washed Mexican coffee arrives. From one of the few roasters you truly trust with Light Roast. Their take on their beans is pure magic. You vividly remember the approachable gala apple acidity finish and decent body from the last bag. Definitely light, but not lacking in flavor. Whether you swing by their cafe or have it shipped, the anticipation builds. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say each paragraph twice and then pick out the best, which is kind of dumb, but whatever. No, I just roll through it and then just do it again. Okay. You've been counting down the days until your last batch of that washed Mexican coffee arrives. From one of the few roasters you truly trust with Light Roast, their take on this bean is pure magic. You vividly remember their approachable gala apple acidity finish and decent body from the last bag. Definitely light, but not lacking in flavor. Whether you swing by their cafe or have it shipped, the anticipation builds. The day finally comes. You eagerly open the bag and that intoxicating aroma rushes out. You can't wait to put your tried and true 116 Kalita Wave recipe to test again. It really brings out the best in this coffee. You're itching to play around with that new brewer you treated yourself to last week too. You set the grinder to the setting that you jotted down in your coffee notebook weeks ago because you're such a badass or nerd depending on who you ask. Maybe the beans seem a little stubborn going through the grinder, but you don't think much of it. You're locked in on your pour over ritual, everything feeling dialed as the brew drains through. Taking that first anxious sip, you can't help but wonder, did you nail it or totally screw it up. Sip after sip is undeniable. This cup is completely off. Like a gnarly mix of underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique? Some weird bean defect? Or did your beloved coffee roaster severely under roast this batch? Now what? I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good right there. 15 in, not bad. 16 in on the camera. We're going to do it one more time. But I think I'm going to talk about this coffee a little bit. And then we're going to stop it and record it again for the camera. I'm still recording anyway. But this coffee is better. I did grind it finer. I do have an idea for my thumbnail. And it's a lot better. The way I roasted this or brewed it was a combination of different things, but in this way, something I've never done before actually, which was cool to push my boundaries with coffee to try to see if I can get a coffee to taste more so what it did before, is try different methods. Nothing was really working. Immersion was a lot better. It made it more lively, but it was still extremely acidity. It did bring in more of the body of the coffee that what it needed. But I believe the best method for this coffee, for instance, was the cold brew. Doing a cold brew, I don't think it matters that much if you do a little bit finer versus not as fine. But it still works out pretty well as a cold brew. And then you go ahead and filter it out. And then once you filter it out, you can warm up the coffee, and then drink it from there. Drink it hot, and then it cools and stuff like that. But it's pretty cool. And I think that's the biggest thing to tell people, to let them know, is that this has worked for me in this case. Your coffee, the way that you go about actually brewing your coffee is the biggest thing, right? To understand, to get to the accomplishment that you want. Because this is what I wrote down too in my notebook. After I did my script that I read you and I modify it. Remember, my goal with this video is to give the viewer the confidence to make lemonade out of lemons. That makes sense? Lemonade out of lemons. Yeah, I think that's the way you say that. Let people know, for this case and this coffee brewing method mostly resembled what I remembered before the good roast. And then I wrote, my logic is to give the brewer, you, the viewer, confidence, improve the roast with their knowledge and skill as a brewer. But if this is a concerning trait that they keep getting from this roasting company, they should either tell them about it or look for a different roaster. Then I wrote it. It is good. I will focus on giving people tips and tricks to see if they can make it salvageable. So again, it still goes back to people, right? People understanding what they will get out of this video. So let me go ahead and stop it and start it again. Good morning. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Oh, I think he already is.
Is he even up?
Huh?
Is he even up? Yeah, they're not up because they're still trying, I think. So yeah, so we are going to actually make some more coffee soon. Probably give it another 5 minutes. We're going to run through the script one more time just to feel comfortable. I'm opening up my mouth again. I stopped and pushed the recording. Hey, Logan. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, big boy? Good. Yeah, I'm recording. I'm doing my audio, then also doing some video too. We'll talk later, okay? All right. So everybody's waking up, everybody's doing their thing and all that stuff. So we are about to end this podcast, but I do wanted to run through this script one more time. This is for the intro. A little bit different, kind of BTS a little bit with this. And I think I actually may just use this also as a podcast, first one, whatnot, and video podcast. Because again, I go back and forth if I should do a video podcast or YouTube podcast or just kind of keep doing my podcast that I'm doing right now and just posting it as an audio. I go back and forth. I may just do the good one hitters, the ones that I feel that will be YouTubeable. That makes sense. But I don't mind putting them all up there because it does give me a good database of things and where things are. And we'll see. We'll see. So we're going to roll with this one more time. All right, Logan, give me about 5 minutes, okay? Huh? Okay. Yeah, we got all this movement over here, which is cool. I mean, that's what happens when you're living in a house. And your studio is kind of like central location. But yeah, like I said, I'm drinking this coffee right now. It's almost done. I'm almost done with it. I can't wait to actually have the dark roast because the dark roast is a lot tastier, full body, and the sweetness comes in a lot better. But yeah, so here we go. Here we go. Look at the camera too because this is part of the stuff that I will be splicing in where I can that makes sense into the intro. You know, I like the way somebody did the intro and all that stuff. Probably the noise and all that stuff will add to texture. Okay. All right. Here we go. You've been counting down the days until your last batch of that washed Mexican coffee arrives. For one of the few coffee roasts, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's do it again. That's the beauty of this. I realized that you can just start, stop, and also splice it in and make it better and all that stuff. Kind of like the way I think about it now. I'm sure other people do it too. But here we go. You've been counting down the days until your last batch of that washed Mexican coffee arrives. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. You've been counting down the days until your last batch of that washed Mexican coffee arrives. From one of the few roasters you truly trust with light roast. Their take on this bean is pure magic. You vividly remember their approachable gala apple acidity finish and decent body from that last bag. You definitely light, but not lacking in flavor. Whether you swing by their cafe or have it shipped, the anticipation builds. The day finally comes. You eagerly open the bag, and that intoxicating aroma rushes out. You can't wait to put your tried and true 1:16 Kalita Wave recipe to test again. It really brings out the best in this coffee. And you're itching to play around with that new coffee brewer you treated yourself to last week too. You set the grinder to the setting that you jotted down in your coffee notebook weeks ago because you're such a badass or nerd, depending on who you ask. Maybe the beans seem a little stubborn going through the grinder, but you don't think much of it. You're locked in on your pour over ritual. Everything feeling dialed as the brew drains through. Taking that first anxious sip, you can't but wonder, do you nail it or totally screw it up? Sip after sip is undeniable. Sip after sip is undeniable. This cup is completely off. Like a gnarly mix of underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique, some weird bean defect? Or do you beloved coffee roaster severely under roast this batch? Now what? Sip after sip is undeniable. This cup is completely off. Like a gnarly mix of underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique? Some weird bean defect? Or did your beloved coffee roaster severely under roast this batch? Now what? Hey, what's up, doggy? Let's see. Crazy dog. She's just too much. Cool. I'm almost done, big boy, okay? I'm gonna say that last part one more time, and we're done. Sip after sip is undeniable. This cup is completely off. Like a gnarly mix underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique? Some weird bean defect? Or did your beloved coffee roaster severely under roast this batch? Now what? Sip after sip, it's undeniable. This cup is completely off. Sip after sip, it's undeniable. This cup is completely off. Like a gnarly mix underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique? Some weird bean defect? Or did your beloved coffee roaster severely roast this batch? Wait, say that again. Sip after sip, it's undeniable. This cup completely off. Like a gnarly mix underripe veggies and acid that just won't quit. You're crushed and so confused. Was it your brewing technique? Some weird bean defect? Or did your beloved coffee roaster severely under roast this batch? Now what? I think we got it. We done. We're gonna have to be done. There we go.